The Ambush. Writ by Elham Ghoreishi. I am writing to you with a heavy heart, weighed down by my wife's cowardly betrayal and the events that unfolded before and after. As I pen this letter, I am seated in my personal small boat, measuring 7.43 meters in length, with a draft of 0.5 and a weight of 1780 kilos. The table before me is crafted from walnut wood, and the weather is currently fair. The forecast for the coming week predicts clear and cloudless skies. More than half of the cabin space is occupied by cans of non-perishable food and wine, a precaution that will become evident in the following lines. My professional domain is that of writing, yet none of my work has seen publication thus far, not even a single line. My role involves critiquing literature, mostly in verbal discussions within literary circles. At this moment, I remain unaware of your identity, or when you will read these words. My aim is to occupy myself for the next few days to distract from the passage of time, as the days ahead promise to be trying. The sounds of seagulls echo in the background, and the scent of the sea fills the air around me. I sit amidst a sea of papers in the compact cabin, deep in thought and reflection. My acquaintance with her dates back to our university days, where we both pursued studies in the Faculty of Literature. She possessed a striking beauty and an air of elegance. Her dedication, intelligence, and marked shyness were noticeable traits. To me, her shyness seemed rooted in a lack of self-assurance, evident in her demeanor. As our connection grew, I came to learn about her painful past, the loss of her parents in a car accident during her childhood and the subsequent upbringing by a stern aunt. This upbringing, I believe, contributed to her diminished self-confidence. Allow me to share with you how I sought to address this issue that eventually became a concern for both of us. Regardless, her beauty radiated, and her academic prowess gained her favor among professors, sparking both envy among fellow female students and admiration from male peers. Rather than engage in futile competition with the superficial advances of young men, I opted for a quieter approach, showing genuine concern for her well-being. Although my demeanor remained reserved, she recognized the care I harbored for her. I recall an incident where I extricated her from a predicament orchestrated by jealous classmates. She later confided that during those moments, I had embodied the persona of a mysterious and captivating hero in her eyes. It is worth noting that this sentiment preceded the arrival of a certain malevolent figure into our lives. During this time, a personal event led me to exit the university, altering the course of my life. To be candid, my reaction to my father's passing was not one of sorrow. Rather, I found myself experiencing an unexpected sense of relief. My father was a reckless and perpetually inebriated individual, burdening my mother with the arduous responsibilities of our farm. His company of choice consisted of friends, and his inebriated state upon returning home invariably resulted in belligerence. His behavior, characterized by reckless actions and hurtful words, inflicted pain upon my mother. My older sister soon married and distanced herself from our troubled household. Throughout my childhood, I pledged to my mother that I would secure a brighter future for her after completing my education. My father's demise heralded a shift in our circumstances. Acting upon my mother's counsel, we sold our agricultural assets and livestock, utilizing the proceeds to acquire a 3-story building in the city where I pursued my studies. Each floor corresponded to the inheritance of one of us, my mother, my sister, and myself. My mother convinced my sister to forego her share in favor of me, reasoning that my financial stability due to my marriage warranted such a decision. My sister concurred, relinquishing her claim to the inheritance. As a result, our collective assets became solely mine, although her visits to our home diminished over time. My mother often alluded to my sister's striking resemblance to my father, coupled with her purported mental instability. Subsequently, we took up residence on the ground floor of the building, renting out the remaining 2 floors. When my mother passed away unexpectedly from an illness, I found myself utterly alone. It was during this period that chance led me to encounter my future wife in a cafe. She had undergone a transformation, appearing even more radiant. Donning glasses, her attire remained unassuming, and her hair was casually arranged. I observed her from a distance, engrossed in her work. Sipping her coffee intermittently, she scribbled notes on scattered papers and absent-mindedly chewed on her pen cap. Unaware of her surroundings, she was consumed by her tasks. Compelled by curiosity, I approached her. Our initial exchange was warm and engaging, evolving into heartfelt conversations. We conversed about diverse subjects, discovering mutual interests and perspectives. Time appeared to slip away, and we remained oblivious to the cafe's impending closure. Subsequent encounters became more frequent, and our connection deepened into a profound affection. I am certain that her feelings were genuine during those moments. I possess a keen sense of discernment when it comes to others' emotions. As our bond strengthened, I proposed marriage to her, an event marked by the sparkle in her eyes. Post-marriage, I relocated to her father's residence, embarking on a harmonious journey together. My rental income obviated the need for external employment, allowing me to indulge in pastimes such as gardening. My wife, however, embraced a different routine. Rising early, she committed her mornings to the newspaper office. Upon returning, she assumed domestic responsibilities, handling chores, cleaning, laundry, and preparing meals. My concern for her well-being led me to suggest a different path, advocating that she remain at home and focus solely on our domestic life. She hesitated initially, professing her fondness for her career, yet ultimately yielded to my perspective for our mutual benefit. Transitioning her work to our home environment, she embarked on literary pursuits. Her early books met with acclaim, each successive work garnering greater recognition. The zenith of her achievements arrived with her seventh publication, securing the prestigious Literary Award of the Year. An interview followed in which she attributed her success to me, an acknowledgement I considered accurate given the guidance I provided. Although my own written works remained unpublished, I find solace in my role as a guide and mentor. While her accomplishments thrived, we also ventured into social circles encompassing literature, arts, and politics. Invitations to significant events and parties became commonplace. My role evolved to offer meticulous reviews and critiques, leading to encounters with the creators themselves. My unvarnished assessments often encountered resistance, as truth can be disconcerting to some. This, perhaps, explains why my popularity remains limited. During this period, we crossed paths with a renowned psychologist, whom my wife expressed a keen interest in meeting. It is worth noting that fame does not guarantee wisdom, and my view of this figure was far from favorable. Freud and his imitators held no esteem in my eyes. Initially, my wife embarked on collaborative endeavors with this psychologist, seeking his insights as she developed her new book. I perceived her actions as heedless, as I had always been a source of guidance across all aspects of her life. Moreover, I found her interactions with him unsettling, suspecting his intentions were less than professional. Our first significant disagreement arose when my wife voiced a desire for counseling and treatment, revealing her vulnerability. I vehemently opposed this course of action, sensing ulterior motives on the psychologist's part. My objection was resolute, though her silence suggested a degree of internal conflict. Subsequently, my wife's demeanor underwent a transformation. Engaging in activities she found fulfilling, she embraced physical activity, immersed herself in her gardening pursuits, and even indulged in solitary movie nights. It was during this period that a strained camaraderie developed between us. Her devotion appeared insincere, and I found myself tormented by the knowledge of her burgeoning relationship with the psychologist. My attempts at surveillance led to the revelation of her clandestine visits to his office. Despite her assurances and affirmations of love, My intuition remained steadfast, her feelings for me had waned. In a moment of confrontation, I unveiled my knowledge of her affair. She attempted to dissuade me with declarations of love and assurances of resolution. However, her words held no sway, and I watched as she stumbled and fell when I pushed her aside. Transporting her to a concealed basement room, I sealed her fate within soundproof walls. The truth was incontrovertible: her actions had betrayed our bond. According to research conducted by a biology professor at George Washington University, humans can endure 3 to 4 days without water, accounting for varying environmental conditions. This span may differ depending on factors like temperature. Given the consistent 22-degree environment of the hidden basement, I am confident she remains alive as I write this on the 4th day. My intentions remain the same: to ascertain her innocence and preserve a glimmer of hope, however slight. In the face of uninformed judgments and rash assumptions, I urge consideration of the trials imposed by higher powers, the loss of loved ones, conflict, and natural disasters. Mythological narratives depict trials by fire and feats of heroism against malevolent forces. God himself tasked Abraham with sacrificing his son to test his faith. These challenges, however monumental, serve a greater purpose. Presently, our world seems to embrace darker forces, rendering my actions in the shadow of scrutiny. Despite potential repercussions involving law enforcement, the media, and the uninformed masses, I remain resolute. I find solace in my convictions and accept the consequences that may follow. Uncertain whether my wife still lives as you read this, I ponder the state of the world and the passage of time. I entrust this letter to the sea, its destination unknown, with the hope that it finds a receptive reader on some distant shore. Elham Ghoreishi.
Be sure to like our content and stay tuned by subscribing.